Hello and welcome to another video. So I wanted to cover a deck that involved a new order, so of course that's what we're doing today. This is a basic cannon design deck. It's pretty straightforward and simple. I think if I ran more new orders this deck would be improved for sure, but I did only get the one, and we're not going to craft up a heap of them since one I think is just fine overall. But honestly, these kind of decks are pretty garbage. If you are relying on new order, you're going to run into problems. I found new orders just kind of a nice extra to have if you start running out of cards in more drawn out matches, but unfortunately a lot of the meta right now is really based around just killing you pretty quickly with big combos such as, rune combos, other portal combos, even Holy Lions comboing off 3 lions in a row for 12 damage. Very decks that can just wipe you out in one go. So this deck, unfortunately, being more control orientated, doesn't tend to work out. But I do have one nice match to show you guys, and that's what we're going to be looking at. So it will be a reasonably short video for day 2, but I think that'll be pretty fine. So we're going to check it out right now. So I'd played about 13 games with this deck so far, and honestly, this is the only one that was really good and that I got new order out at the same time. Otherwise, most of the other matches were very like 50-50, and if I wasn't focusing on new order for this video, I feel like I could have done a bit better with the deck. But since that was my main focus, I typically tried to mulligan everything away in favor of new order and really just try and get that into my hand. It's definitely not a win condition card. It's much more of a, oh, this helps out kind of card, as you'll see even in this match. It's just one of those cards that makes for a difficult video because you want to see it get played and played out and stuff like that, but it's really just not favorable in the current meta. I do want to cover Blood though and a few other rune decks. They should be a lot of fun, and that'll probably be our coming up video, so that'll be awesome. So really just kicking us off, we're playing a pretty standard overall. Obviously mini expansions, only so many new cards, 2 per craft, really isn't a lot, and a few neutrals, so it doesn't give us, a lot of variation in the decks. Don't expect to see, heaps of new cards. But I wanted to get new order and give it a kind of shining place at the moment. So just using Hamlin pretty casually, duplicating these out just to give us that edge that we might need for draw power. That was really all I could do, and just go face wherever possible. Really, that's the strength of a deck like this, being able to kind of suppress the early game and then kind of roll into the mid game, at least from as I was playing it. And of course, White Wire, at least we're going to kill it with a substitution, which is going to be awesome, so we can completely avoid its stupid healing effects, which is good for us. Plus, we can actually go for 8 damage, taking half the remaining health from this dragon player. We definitely cave out pretty favorably overall in this match. Although, 2 Breaths is a pretty decent play, and Seraphic Blade is pretty good as well. It's definitely going to limit our damage to probably half again of what he can have. Unfortunately, we didn't draw new order, which was a little bit of a disappointment there. I really wanted it. Lucky for them, they bought themselves some time, so it's definitely something they've got. But getting them down to 4 was definitely one of the most important situations to be in right now, so that's definitely what we wanted to do. Leave them at 4 health, so when we do get new order, we can just play it straight out. Just for a little bit of fun, this deck. I think in the future, if I definitely ran more new order, it would definitely improve overall, as of course it would just improve the consistency. I'd probably want to run 2 of it, I think. I don't think 3 is that great. I think it's probably a little over the top, but definitely want to run 2 to give us some better odds, as we do have a lot of draw power in most artifact decks. Also, if the game does slow down in the future expansion, new order could have some potential with some control decks. It's just a matter of, will it slow down, which at the current pace of Shadowverse, it probably won't. Control decks always seem to be lacking. Unless they can somehow massively heal or just purely stop combos, control decks really don't win out a lot of the time. So they did a good job at actually handling this and healing themselves up, which was quite nice. I would love to get that Dragon Legendary. It's actually one of the few I really want to play. I'd love to get all the cards, of course, but mostly free to play. Don't spend really any money and can't really afford to, honestly. Virtuous Lindworm, definitely a problem, something we have to deal with. They put us in a tight spot after getting them down so far. Them being able to heal up and get out of range of us was a real problem. But we should be able to make up for this. We're going to be able to get rid of this Lindworm. It's just a matter of how much of it we can get rid of and how quickly. Luckily for us, our draws were pretty respectable. Definitely not perfect, but reasonable enough. If I had played this a bit better, there's a possibility we could have done just that little bit extra. But even if we hadn't have drawn this analyzing here, we would have just played the double puppet. But this way we actually don't have to do that, and we ended up drawing our new order, so finally got it into our hand. Which means we can also just throw whatever else we want into the deck at this point, as new order's just going to replace it anyway. I did try a normal artifact deck with new order. The only problem is it was much more artifact than new order, so it wasn't really good to show off for a video for you guys, which is a little disappointing. But overall, this deck is actually still fairly decent. All we have to do is take out these few cards and set up our new order, which is perfect. Such a cool looking card. I love that the artwork is so different. A lot of Portal's legendaries tend to have pretty unique artwork, excluding of course the fan servicey type ones. But we're going to take this out pretty easily. There's no real issue here. We're going to get 4 damage to face as well, and set up some more draw power. And since we have Acceleradium on board, Prime Artifact actually will be able to be useful. Provided we don't just draw into lethal. I mean, a Radiant Artifact, if they don't clear at least 2 of these cards, is guaranteed to really hit us off. Ooh, Dragon Strife Blade and a White Frost Whisper, not bad. But we did end up with the double Radiance, being able to go face for 12 damage, more than what we needed. Even if we didn't, we could have set up our Prime and probably a Mystic, cleaned up the board, and kind of set up for next turn anyway. So definitely a fun deck. I enjoyed playing it when it worked, but unfortunately most of the time it didn't. So for me, New Order isn't a huge letdown. It's quite a fun card and does what it's meant to. I mean, it's pretty much a Prince of Darkness just for purely artifacts, which is pretty cool and a lot of fun to play. The only real big problem, of course, being that the meta just won't allow for it, and I don't think the meta will probably ever allow for it to be overly playable unless we get some better support maybe, or maybe we can just come up with some way better decks. I mean, as a one-off, I think it's fine if you're looking for some extra reach in, say, a tournament setting maybe, where you're not expecting them to be full aggro. But in just general play on ladder, most people are playing more mid-rangey comboing type decks. Not even aggro or control are really that featured as much anymore, although I would like to see aggro make a comeback. It's definitely just in that kind of middle ground. It's definitely not going to make it onto any big tier lists, I don't think, at least from what I've played. But who knows, there's always a possibility it could surprise us, someone come up with an insane deck, and it could do wonders, but at the moment, I think it's just lacking there. So if you guys did enjoy the video, hit the like button and subscribe. Until next time, see ya.